newer facility than what they were asking for before, which will allow us to get going on that. So, those are some decisions that have to be made going forward. Because right now, nationally, Salamis isn't doing that well. Right. So they're having their own struggles. So that puts them in a bad mood when we have to deal with them. So, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, I appreciate that, Tim. And so for so many reasons, we want you to be successful, okay? For so many reasons. And so I think what we're going to do is kind of put a pause on some of our reviews. If you have something that comes up, Commissioner Begley is our point person on that besides TURA. And so we'll look at that. And our board will look at that again. Tim, again, I think that's all we have for you. Thank you so much and appreciate you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We'll move on to item 3. This is the Pueblo Urban Renewal. This is kind of a two-part item here. One is that TURA last month sent an article that was in a Pueblo paper showing that the Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority had started figuring out the process of taking blighted homes and getting them back on the tax rolls and getting them back into development. And so I asked TURA to reach out to them. We had a meeting with them, a Zoom meeting with them, probably 2 weeks ago now.
Last week.
Last week. It went very well. We were able to make good connections there. We were well received. I think not urban neighborhoods, but the
Urban Renewal for them.
Urban Renewal for them. And they had that consultant that we had looked at one time when we were doing the Opera House thing. And she was sitting there. So we're going to do a field trip. We'll let everybody know when that is. They've invited us to go down and see what they're doing. And then we've invited them after that to come here and present to our board. We wanted to do most of the legwork since they're going to be kind of guiding us on the process and bring them back here in order to look at that. Kind of the thinking, at least my thinking is that until we can have some crack in the armor of getting these things back on, because this is a slog. This is a big, hard move to get this done. Then some of these things are going to be, it's not that we don't want to do this, it's that we're going to have to understand the reality of this is a slower process, which will free us up to concentrate TURA's energy on the things that we can do. And so, Tara, if you can give an update, and then I want to get the commissioners involved.
For us, mostly from what we heard from them is they've figured out the legal way of acquiring the properties in order to do the flip to make it livable again. So we want to meet up with them to figure out what process would work for us if we can adopt the same process that they use. I know our code enforcement has reached out to them as well to try to figure out ways. What they've been doing is they buy up the liens that are up on the property in order to get custody of the property, in order to then turn around and either demo the building or to be able to do the rehab for the building. Their biggest, one that they were prized property that they're looking at right now, they did a duplex on it and they were able to do a stackable building. So they stacked them off-site so that they fit inside of the setbacks. Because they have the same problem we have. Our lots are small. And their lots are small there as well in Pueblo. So they figured out a way of making it work. They want to show us what they've done down there. And then when they come here, they want to look at a couple of our sites that we are eyeing to see if they can help us to figure out the process. So they said it'd be easier to see it in person than trying to explaining to them what properties it is.
And so, and if that happens, we may put them up for the night or something along that line because they're coming up this way. So we'll look at that from a budget perspective. There, Commissioner Lopez, do you have anything for us?
I think it's a good idea to invite them to come down here and have a visit with them, see what type of program the city of Pueblo is doing, and open this store. Yep, I like it.
Very cool. Commissioner Begley.
Yeah,
and you wanted to also add something with regards to.
And I'm going to do that. Right.
Very good.
Okay. Anyway, as I look at this, as far as me being on this board, one of the passions I have is to do away with some of these blighted homes or blighted properties and things, and being a boots on the ground kind of guy, and that's what we need, and that's what I want to provide. So whatever we can do and we come up with some good legal ways of doing this, and do it. I would like to be really involved in this, and and I would say it's more in my wheelhouse, and I would like to participate in some of the things that have come forth. I've talked with a couple different people at a couple different times, and letting everybody know I would like to be involved in this. And I don't know what that means exactly right now, but I think as we start to clear out some things, we'll start to see where our lane will be, and I can see how I can fit in. So I'd like to see what we can do. But that was what I would like to do, is just to offer that to this board, that I'd really like to be involved in this. So.
Thank you. I'd like to see how you get yourself out of being involved into it. Okay? You're involved in it, and you will be involved in it, okay? You're one of our subject matter experts in that area, and we plan on utilizing your experience, okay? So we'll see how that shapes up, but yes, you'll be a lead dog in that run, okay?
Very good. Thank you.
You bet. Let's move on to item 4, update on the Jaffa Opera House Foundation. We have Keely Williams with us this evening, and Keely, can you just state who you're with?
Yes.
And then share with us your presentation.
Okay, great. More of a discussion probably than a presentation. But
Please.
Keely Williams with the Jaffa Opera House Foundation. I sit on the board. So I guess there's a lot to share on it. Obviously, it's sad with Dana not being with us, but I think at least I had enough time with her to know what her vision is and what her wishes are. And I can say that we've been working on this. I've been working with her as a consultant for a year, and in that year, we've come up with a capital stack for it, and we have pipeline funding for this project. So, which is wonderful. It's going to be about $13 million to do the project. And what's so great about finding free money or incentives is that, but for those things, you can't get a project like this done in a market setting. You know, you can't have just a regular old developer come in here, do a $13 million project in that location and have it cash flow in any sort of reasonable amount of time.
Right.
So that's what's so great about this project being eligible for so many incentives. I know that TURA was working with Jaffa, with Dana, and with some of Dana's folks, on a loan. And we realized that, with her passing, maybe now is not the right time for that type of incentive. I don't want to negotiate against the Opera House, of course, and I don't want to turn down, opportunities. However, due to the timing of everything, maybe there's a better use for those funds. So we want to be part of the conversation. We want to be open to it, and I don't want to be closed off to any assistance I can get or support from TURA on that project. I can share, there's 2 really exciting partners we have on this project. One is Redline Arts, and the other is Opus Creative. One of Dana's big visions was to have a restaurant on the corner of Main and Commercial. That was one thing that was drilled into our minds all the time. That was her vision. And I think we're going to be able to do something like that. But instead of having it be a typical restaurant, what we'd like to see with our partner is like a workforce training restaurant. I'm from New Orleans. We have a lot of these in New Orleans, and they feed resorts and hotels and things like that. So what Opus Creative does, which is a program out of Colorado Springs, is its earn and learn program. So when you get accepted to their culinary program, you are paid so it's not a culinary institute, it's a workforce program. We think that this is a really good fit for any overflow from Denver, Colorado Springs to come down here. And we'd love to see like a big working restaurant on that corner. So that's the vision for the corner, which is the old Houseman Drug space, beautiful space. And then next to that, and on the second floor with the big windows, and on the third floor, what we'd like to do is partner with Redline Arts. Redline Arts is already a partner at the East Street School. They have a huge facility up in Denver, and they have a couple different programs that they run. One of them is a artist in residency program. They get about 300 applicants a year for that program with only about 24 spots. So there's a lot of spots left over, and these are international folks that come from all over. There's a lot of folks left over, and I think that we could easily capture them in Red Line Art South at the Opera House. And then we have opportunity for housing above. So we're trying to work out, okay, what would that look like? But that's kind of was the vision of, art space at your space to create. We don't really see the artists and the artists living upstairs. We're not really seeing that. Same thing with East Street School. We're kind of seeing it, but not really. I think the trick is that we have to make sure that those units are affordable. If we're going to have sort of a situation like that, like a live work situation. So that's something that we're working through with Redline right now. And another, both of those programs, we've gotten funding for those programs in the last year. They're going to incubate at East Street School, and then they're going to eventually move over into the Opera House. In terms of like the capital stack and the timing, with the 13 million, we're looking at closing for next January. Until then, hopefully just maintain the structure and make sure things aren't getting worse. Maybe there's work to be done on the roof or something like that. So we're looking at all of those options to make sure that the structure is safe. And then we're hoping to break ground next year. How's that sound?
I'm going to ask Commissioner Lopez to ask some questions, jump on in.
Hi, Keely, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. A couple of things come to mind real quick. One, you might not know. Usually when someone passes, the legal process takes place with their estate and all of that parameters that the process takes with the individual's debt and properties, especially of a woman with the magnitude of Dana Crawford. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, or if you know, we asked for the succession plan before we started this process, before she passed away, and I think that was started. Do you guys have a clear legal path moving forward with this property at this time, if you know of it?
I could give you an update on that. So, yes, the estate is up and running as of this week. 2 of the 3 members of the Jaffa Opera House Foundation, which was established in November prior to Dana's passing, are the executors of that estate. So that would be Peter Crawford and Lisa Evans, and then I am the 3rd person on the foundation. So the foundation is a little bit outside of the estate, but the estate is up and running, and it's flowing. It's going and flowing.
Well, that's good to hear. So my second question following is, since you mentioned that possibly not moving forward with the application to TURA at this time, that was being discussed, but not throwing it away. That purpose of that loan was to make sure the building facade and the roof point safe. I know the city of Trinidad has been having a lot of issues with the sidewalk that is no longer operable on the covers up. What's the plan for that if this request is not made within Renewal to assist in that next step?
Well, I don't want to, I want it to be a discussion. So I don't want to, argue against myself or the Opera House. If funding is still available, then it can be utilized for that same purpose. But we do have a historic preservation grant that's going. We applied for it, and we're applying for it again with the State Historical Fund that's going in April 1st, which would be available June 1st. So those were the original slated of funds. It depends on, if I'm the developer, ultimately the developer of the project and the sponsor of the project, I may be looking to match and sponsor some of these activities, just depending on the need. When it comes to the type of funding that we're utilizing, which is new markets tax credits and other types of tax credits, you don't want to, you need a notice of proceed first. So you don't want to have a big capital outlay before you close with that structure, if that makes sense. So I'm not looking to make huge improvements, but if it's safety related or something like that, then yes, we'd love to look at making some of those.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest concern for all of us, was to help Dana get that building secure so a brick don't land on somebody, and
Right.
the sidewalk is opened up, and the big beam in the middle was an issue in the last update we had by the designer, planner Paul. And so everything was kind of up in the air until our passing. So
Yeah.
just trying to make sure that our city residents are safe and what we can do to assist if needed still to make sure that that happens. Thank you very much, Kaylee.
You're welcome, and I would echo that sentiment as well. So we're aligned there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Bagley?
I just want to emphasize the safety issue as well. When it came to, there's critters inside there, and when Paul came and shared with us about his concerns, and we kind of need to get this going, we were all on board to get that. Now it's kind of, not just only with the passing of Ms. Crawford, but it's we're just trying to either get the financing together or get the the updated contract. It got rebid like 3 times, I believe, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so, it kept increasing, and we're ready to have special meetings to do that so that it was safe. And now it's kind of like, well, we're pushing it back. Is there a safety issue still where there's a kind of an outcry for your group now at this point to push and get that done? Because I know that the city has got some issues, and that's where I want to emphasize. That's where we were hoping to be a stopgap on that, so that we could be able to assist, so that could be taken care of. And now it looks like we're kind of off that burner right now, and I'm just saying we'd like to get that safe.
Yeah. I mean, I would love. I'm very open to that discussion. I think that when we were, some of this stuff, I do know the ins and outs of the financing. As like a sponsor of the project, that's something that I would be interested in looking at. I would probably take over Dana's role in that financing structure if we were to move forward with some of those items. I kind of feel like we need to try to do the very, very minimum, and I wasn't really involved before
As you are now. Yeah.
as I am now, and so I mean the pricing was coming in really, really high, and I think that maybe if we spoke with more local folks, more local contractors and things like that maybe there's a way to get it done a little bit more affordably.
Okay, and just to follow up on that, we were hoping to help with the financing through our TURA, and I wanted to make sure that if that's all of a sudden now it's not as, it looks like it's getting backed up, maybe next we could find out a time as to when we might be kicking it up. You're kind of getting involved more. I know we could put it on the back burner from our point of view and say, but it doesn't eliminate the safety aspect of what's going on. And this is main and commercial.
Yeah.
So if something starts to crumble, it doesn't take away from the critters being in there and coming in, and the beam that's in there that Mr. Lopez was talking about. All those type of things, we don't want to have a real structural issue. So now, I guess maybe if we say, okay, we're out of this, that doesn't take away from the fact that we're with the city and representing the city, and that we're trying to help, but now we're on the back burner. So we're kind of puts us in a weird spot. We're ready to help, but if something happens where it comes down and you have a problem, then that scope changes altogether. I mean, it's just.
And maybe this is more of a like executive session or something like that to talk about the financing, maybe. But one thing I could suggest is that once it's not that much money for it makes the financing really complicated, because it's not like it's a $5 million financing package. It's so low that it's hard to find somebody to service it. And so maybe if there was a way to get the cost down, but it was a grant instead of a loan or something like that, and maybe that
And,
would,
and I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just saying there is
Yeah.
a safety issue, and I
Right.
just, you know, we're trying to help deal with that, and that's
Yeah.
all. And that's something that, you know, kind of puts us where, okay, we don't spend the money, we don't do it. That's one issue, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, that safety issue is still there, and I know the city would be concerned about it as well, so, anyway, I just kind of trying to.
this is a great discussion.
Okay.
Wonderful, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, I'm gonna say some things that sound really positive and then apply some pressure.
Are you gonna do a sandwich, or are you gonna say something
No.
positive at the end, or?
No, so what I'm gonna say is, it's good to hear that that there's a funding stack in place. And the momentum is starting to move on that in order to know that the bigger vision of where this is going will get there. So applaud the team to keep on moving on that end. I kind of read this kind of differently, and I'm looking at this from TURA's mission. And TURA's mission isn't just facade grants. And as most folks know here, we have a history of, and it was in the previous conversation with Kip Hampton, of when we're working with, one of our partners is working through, and they ask for an extension or a pause or a period of time to work with it. We've been shown to be able to do that with them and be very reasonable in that, doing that to them, with them. But those aren't safety concerns, and those aren't on Main Street. And I really need, and again, I've had conversations with your team with regards to this, so this shouldn't come out of left field, but if the estate is taking the position to put a pause on this, they're forcing the TURA to put a pause on this. The funding option that we laid out there, that was agreed to, that worked well for TURA, worked well for the city, and worked well for the Opera House, that's still on the table right now. I would really like to encourage the estate to relook at that. Because we need the safety issues resolved. If Plan A that we all negotiated during that time when Dana was with us, sure missed that gal. If that was Plan A and that gets put on the side, we need to know a Plan B here soon, because we can't put that project on hold. And although we can be considerate about funding stacks and when the time schedule's in, and if it's $5 million, it's this, if it's $350,000, it's that. All those things are logical and they make a lot of sense, but that's not what we're about.
Right.
Okay? And so what we're about is we need to have something come back to this body, because we represent the city in this regard, safety and blight. It's really our gig. Okay? And we need to have something come back from the estate and from the foundation that addresses in as expedient a manner and with a sense of urgency on what's going to happen with regards to the bricks that are falling and part of a street that we can't use. And so if the state's saying to us, we don't want to take the deal that you had, we're not going to, which was a revolving fund, fair interest rate, collateralized, good for what we were going to do, pretty darn good deal. If the estate's going to move away from that, we're going to move away from that as well, and we don't mind putting that on pause, but we have to have an agreement that there's a sense of urgency that, okay, then what?
Right.
See, and then we have the then what, we have that, and then how? And I think we owe it to the folks that we serve here to get that answer. And so if the answer can't be, we'll be looking at this again in 2026.
Right.
Okay, the answer has to be, here's what we are going to do, not just to patch a roof and not just to do something with regards to raccoons, but here's what we're going to do in order to make that side of your street safe to navigate. And so I think that's where we really need to be, and that's a hard conversation.
Yeah.
But it's a conversation that's why we meet once a month, is to have really good conversations, but also hard conversations and ask for real commitments on things. So if you can take that back to the estate and to the foundation,
Yeah.
and let them know we're ready to work.
Okay.
That thing can pop back up in a second to address that. I think somebody may be able to say, based on the realities, we know that things go up in price as time goes by. I think whatever that amount was, I think we'd be interested in entertaining an increase of that amount of where that loan was. We need to do something.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so I really would love to, in the next little bit, maybe by the time now and the next meeting we have, that there's something more substantial with regards to what's going on to get that side of the street navigatable
Mhm.
and reduce the safety hazards that not only the citizens have, but puts the city at risk with liability.
I think that's realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we could confidently put that on the agenda for next session, and at the very least, we might not have a number yet.
Okay.
But maybe at least we have a scope of work that fits a budget
And timeframe.
and timeframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, hold on a second. So,
Okay.
let's put them on the agenda for next month right now. We're going to act with a sense of urgency
Good. I
with
love it.
regards to some of these things.
Good.
Commissioner,
I'm sorry, I was kind of cutting in there a little bit, but
that's okay.
we're glad you're here.
Ooh, this is the back part of the sandwich.
Huh?
This is a compliment sandwich.
Okay.
That's how you do it. You gotta do the nice part
No,
first, then the hard part.
That's
then
the olive we stick in the tile. It's just an olive. You can maybe have a pickle on the side. That's it.
Okay.
Okay? There's not much to give here, okay? I'm gonna bring in Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Lopez, you have anything else with regards to any other comments based on where we are?
Not at this time. Thanks for the update, Keely.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great deal. Great deal.
And I will say that there's going to be, and the urgency is good. So on May 8th, there's going to be a Trinidad celebration of life for Dana Crawford.
Mhm.
And it's going to be with Temple Aaron, Fox West Theater, and East Street School. And then there's probably going to be multiple days, so that I'm sure that I'll be reaching out to these fine folks at the city to try to coordinate a few things. But going back to the urgency question, I would love to see signage on that building of what are the next steps. I would love to see it lit up in blue, Dana's favorite colors. That's what Denver did. Denver had Union Station lit up in blue,
Yeah.
I would love to kind of roll out the red carpet for this, it could be 250 people coming down to
Nice.
kind of like check out Trinidad, be
We-
Trinidad curious.
TURA will be represented,
Good,
okay?
very
We
good,
look forward to that. She
Thank
was,
you.
she was an important person in this community.
Yes, she was.
very good.
Awesome, thank you much.
Okay,
Thanks
thanks.
for the update. Item 5, Nicholas Mason, updates from the city, Trinidad, Cougar Canyon. Now, this is a couple of things. Certainly Nick's here, but this is something that the Commissioner Lopez has been championing for a long time, even to his time as our county commissioner.
Right.
This is something that I beat the drum a lot of times on as well. And I'm hoping we can open up this can and find out what the challenges are and maybe some solutions. So Nick, can you enlighten us a little bit on this?
To be honest, I'm a little caught off guard a little bit. So, Cougar Canyon has significant challenges. It also has a lot of upside, but because we have developers that come in, pay extravagant amount of money to develop property that's not developed. That thing out there is developed. There's utilities around. There's curb gutter sidewalk. There's a lot of amenities out there that someone would have to pay for. So there isn't a lot of upside to it, and I can see it. As far as a path forward, I don't quite know. I'm willing to work it out. Willing to call who we have to and work with whoever we have to find that path forward. That's for sure. And besides that, I'm all ears. Like I said, I never put too much thought to this one just because, and I look at it all day. I live up there, so I look at it. So I know it's there.
Well, then hang tight. I'm going to bring Commissioner Lopez in for some comments and questions. Commissioner Lopez?
Thank you, Chairman. Nick, would you like to see your property value increase where you live?
Yeah, probably.
We could do that
Don't answer that,
collectively
Nick.
with
It's
this
a trap.
organization. Deleting the blighted hotel that is
Okay.
out there. So, background for you, 7 years ago as a commissioner, I started working on getting these property taxes and stuff finite and worked out, finalized, gone through with the treasurer of Los Angeles County. So in Trinidad, worked with them, trying to dissolve the metro district,
Yeah.
seeing what the city council wanted to do. The bottom line is this, the information we got from city legal counsel to our legal counsel at the county level was on executive session, but I can share this with you is that at the time the city council chose not to do anything at all until the bond was up in 2032 or something like that. So, no longer a county commissioner, I can wear my TURA hat and only my TURA hat. And what do we do? What is our main purpose is, as Chairman said earlier, removing blight and creating urban renewal, creating new stuff. So my question to you and my request is, what would it look like if urban renewal was to use our tools along with the city, and I know this is going to be very political, of condemning the property that is there, that is blighted, the hotel. What's that process look like? Contractual wise, what does it look like with the bond company that has the bond on that property, the banks that own it, all of that homework, and where do we dispose of it?
Yeah.
The landfill here, City of Trinidad's got a short lifespan, and I know that. So all of those things, I mean, could be shipped off to Pueblo, another county, and basically buy space or buy dump fees. What is the next steps? Because it doesn't look like anything's going to happen on that hotel for the foreseeable 9 years, 8 years, until 2032, and that bond is up. Also reach out to the bond company to see what they would take for pennies on the dollar, if possible, to move forward as well. So that's my whole purpose of this here.
Okay.
Before I had to walk the line as a county commissioner at Urban Renewal, now I no longer have to do that.
Gotcha.
But it is upsetting to see how many people like yourself live out there in that beautiful area, and you look out your back window and you see yuck.
Yeah.
What can we do to help? And that's my question today.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And to be honest, I don't know. We've worked through, how we go through on some of these residential. That one's obviously going to be a lot bigger undertaking because, as you said, the bonding company. I believe it's condemned. I know I've seen paperwork on that. So a lot of the stuff the city can do, they've done. A lot of times it's minimal. Just condemning it means no one else can go in there. But we could restart that definitely. And I get occasionally a call once a month, once a quarter, from who owns that property, and they say, "I want to do this." And I say, "Okay," and I know their names, and it's a group out of Utah, I believe, just kind of a mortgage type company, and just talk to them, say, "How about we can notify them, say we're going to knock it down. Asbestos shouldn't be an issue because the year it was built, which is a big help because that is an issue for most of our community when it comes to demolition. But there's a lot to it, Commissioner. But I'm all willing to go through it, and there's no saving it. That's the biggest thing. At this point, there's no more saving it. So,
Commissioner Lopez, anything else?
Well, they were stackable buildings.
they were.
They could be removed in pieces. It may be very difficult, or maybe not very safe.
Yeah.
However, there's got to be some options that we can do as a city and Urban Renewal to just at least remove that eyesore, and then the county treasurer's office, which has done so. We've sold quite a few lots out there that were part of the infrastructure you mentioned that were ready and complete to be buildable, and put them back on the tax sales, which people will want to buy. It's hard to sell a tax lien lot with all of the amenities that we have out there when they're going to build a $500,000 home to look at that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So how do we help ourselves? But
yeah.
Okay.
I'm old.
thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Begley.
I just have to echo everything that he's just said, because as far as, that's the big eyesore, but how do you, it's like, they say eating an elephant, you just start a little at a time. And, how do you tackle that? And And I think it would be a good time because we would like to be helpful in removing that blight because that's what we do, but that's a pretty big, tall order.
It is, but we could definitely start taking the first steps, and
Yes.
I appreciate the help. That's for sure. I ain't gonna complain about that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to help, I'll take it, and I'll try everything I can to take this thing and get somewhere with it. I mean,
I have no idea.
This has been a big thing for me as well, and I've just really loved that Commissioner Lopez has been championing this from where he was, and then now we get him on our team full time. That's an awesome thing. My understanding is that the development agreement expires this year in April. If the development agreement expires this year, and I believe it may have been a 20-year thing, then the folks who have some claim with regards to developing it should clear the decks there.
yeah.
So I think our timeliness on this is right on, spot on. If we're not able to if we're not successful with regards to our work with the Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority on maybe putting some of our lots back on the tax roll, and if we're pausing some of the things, and let's just say maybe the Opera House, and that's on a pause where we're clearing the decks for what TURA can do, and we can get focused in just a couple of areas right now, and start using our bandwidth in real pointed, focused ways. I'd like to ask our attorney. I spent some time in North Carolina, and in many parts of the country, they've taken landfills and turned them into parks. And there's a big one in Cary, North Carolina. That's a big hill in town, and it's a beautiful space. They have an amphitheater and whatever. I'd like to find out if we can't, since most of the materials there on that thing aren't hazardous materials.
Yeah, sure.
My understanding is that it's potentially possible for us to dig a big hole, for lack of better terms, big hole in the back, tear the thing down and bury it where it is, and make it a hill in Cougar Canyon. I'd like to explore that option, like maybe explore the option that if there are burnable items in there, that we allow our fire department to maybe use it as a short-term thing for some training. I really want to bring some focus to there. I'd also like to maybe out the people who believe that they have some kind of claim to property out there. And I'd like to maybe bring those stakeholders in and see where that is and see who says they have a claim and open up that can of worms and see who really does have a claim, and then actually start moving that through. Because it's not only the hotels that's there, and it's not only some of the bonds and those things are there. We have a lot of, in my mind, I'll speak candidly here, in my mind, when that project failed, we should have changed the way that the properties were assessed, because it was valueless, and we kept assessing it as if it had a value. And so in many cases, we've created a monopoly money situation to where we all know that those dollars aren't really there, that are there, but we don't admit that those dollars aren't there. So we keep it on the books and we make it look like there's still a bunch of money coming in to the county, to maybe the city, to the municipal district, to the Honey School District, and it really isn't even monopoly money. At least that's stuff if you buy the game, you get, okay? And so I really want to try and do that. And I believe there's some entities outside of our area who have been almost holding a lottery ticket that, hey, one day somebody's maybe going to do things and that's when I'll sell that property. And I want to find out who thinks they're that person and then try and address them. So I really want to pull this thing back. I want us to find out where the problems are. I want us to find out what we can do. And I believe that this isn't as ugly a fraud as some people think it is. And I want to actually push that forward. And having the Commissioner Lopez back in thing, I know the county has carried a lot of water on this already. And the county found ways of doing some things.
Okay.
And the city empowered us to take on projects like this that were political because we don't have the same constituencies.
Yeah.
We don't have constituencies. We have the city and project partners. The city has, so I'd like to maybe be that buffer in between what the city's goals are and objectives are, and let TURA actually do that. And so figure out what that stuff is.
Yeah.
Let's kind of peel this back a little bit. Because quite frankly, I talked to somebody before and they said, Pat, you don't understand what the legal fees are attached to this. I want to understand what those are, because I will say the legal fees are minuscule with regards to the opportunity. Okay? And we shouldn't let dollars scare us from pulling back curtains and looking at things, okay? Dollars are out there, maybe not right now, but dollars are usually out there for projects like this. So, Nick, I want to empower you from at least the direction we can,
Yeah.
that you have TURA as a partner to actually, let's peel this Band-Aid off and see what it is.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and I'll start working through this, and it's not gonna be easy, it's not gonna be quick, but we'll get through it and start taking those first steps, that's for sure.
I think we're in the not easy, not quick business,
Yeah.
okay?
All the easy stuff was already done.
Yeah, exactly. Glad you're here, and thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, Nick.
Yeah,
Commissioner Lopez, anything else for Nick departs?
Thank you, Nick, appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
You guys have anything else for me?
No, appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Item 6 is a Foxwoods Theater participation. This is something that I had asked our previous chair, we miss him, Commissioner Griego, is that, again, my thinking kind of goes into the sense of urgency and what can we have an effect on? What work can we do in 2025, only meeting 12 times in the year, and which means we only have 9 more after this meeting. 9 more times to meet. Businesses don't operate like that. So we've got to make sure each one of these meetings really happen. If the Opera House again is on pause, I'd love to be able to bring that back in, and that offer's still out there. If that's on pause, then one of the things that when I look at our service area, okay, when I look at our service area, I look at opportunities. And some of these opportunities we see, and they're blighted buildings, and they're empty lots, and they're those kinds of things. But we're precluded sometimes just because of the entanglements of getting anything done there. I also look at things like the Opera House, and sometimes we're precluded just because of the realities there. The same thing with what Kip Hampton's going on. We're not precluded from actually taking a stronger role in Foxwoods Theater. That's a city-owned property. Unlike the Opera House, which is privately owned, that's a city-owned property. We work on behalf of the city to do things like the Foxwoods Theater. And I've been thinking for a long time that we probably could have been doing more. But I always looked at what the intent of the Foxwoods board was, and they're a great board doing great work. But talk about an elephant, that's a herd of elephants over there. There's not enough biting you can do to do that. I understand that there's a potential for a reevaluation of the scope of what success looks like for the Foxwoods Theater. We've all seen the plans. We've seen the plans of the Opera House, and they're amazing. And boy, when that thing's ready, it's going to be certainly good. We've seen the plans for the Foxwoods Theater, and we say that's amazing. But there's a lot of bathrooms in there, there's a lot of elevators in there, there's a lot of rooms, there's a lot of places where actors stay, and let's say we were to move that down a little bit. Let's say we were to par that down. And is there a way for us to work with the Foxwoods Theater, with some of the resources we have and stuff in our toolkit, and activate that building in some way where you can have a certificate of occupancy where 200 people may be able to go in there and be in an event, where 200 people may be able to go there and see. So reduce the number of bathrooms, reduce the number of spaces open, wall off certain areas that are detrimental or unsafe. And so I would like to, and we'll open this up to my wiser counterparts here, but I'd like to actually start looking at this and maybe take a stronger role with regards to resources that we have and deploying them into that building. Ongoing TIFs, sometimes when a developer comes to the Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority and they present a project that might be like the Foxwoods Theater, the Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority may be able to waive or actually apply some TIF back to the project to help fund it and have it become part of their funding stack. I'd like for us to consider something creative like that for the Foxwoods Theater. What I'm saying right now is said with a pencil with a big fat eraser next to it, okay? But what I would like us to entertain is there a way for us to commit some of our TIF on an ongoing basis to fund the Foxwoods Theater that they may be able to use as matching grant funds and as a way to actually raise more money, because I'm of the belief if we activate that building in some way, you can raise a lot more money with a building that's activated that people can go into. I'm always reminded of in the development world where somebody has the Cougar Canyon and they say, imagine with me, there's a golf course here, and there's a hotel and a swimming pool. Well, there's early adopters that come in that say, yeah, I'll buy early low. But it usually sells best when people are playing golf, there's folks in the hotel, and there's stuff going on. I think if we activate the Fox West Theater, and we take the resources that we have, that would probably do more to help with regards to economic development, activating our city, bringing more revenue to our businesses, lining up our main street, and attracting more of those micro expos and conferences that we're starting to have success for, that we already invested in the commons and the space to create. We have all these things in here, and we just need some kind of tip of the spear, and I see that. So with that said, Commissioner Lopez, please share your thoughts with regards to anything I said or your own ideas.
No, it's great to explore different opportunities. My radar, but comes on
Please.
with TIF money, tax increment funding. Since it's city is owned by the city, we probably need to explore how much percentage is owned by the city. I don't know if it's totally owned by the city, or I remember when they first get involved and it wasn't. Are they complete owners?
Complete owners.
Yeah, we own it completely.
We own it completely. That's ours.
So to get tax increment funding on a non-taxable property, we won't receive any funding on it. There'll be no collection of taxes on the improvements on that since it's city owned. So anytime the city owns 1% of a property in the city limits in the county, it is non-taxable. So we have to use other TIF money coming in
Exactly.
for a project that is not capable of producing TIF money.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. But I don't see why not we can't have a discussion, and I think that I would recommend, Chairman, you open that dialogue with Mayor Grego and have a visit with her and with the city manager and with TURA to kind of get a feel of what the appetite would be with city council and what their parameters are, what their holdup is, and kind of give a broad perspective of what exactly is going on with the property. And maybe they already have some grants in place that just haven't, similar to Mr. Lamb earlier tonight and Keeley as well, the stackable monies and grants. Maybe we don't know where they're at. And then from there, we can say, okay, well, how can we use our tools and toolbox? But I like the idea, Chair. I just think that we probably need to get city councils to weigh in, but to start with that is with the mayor herself, and go from there, and then we can see how we can help them. Just like with the Cougar Canyon, how can we all help each other make this community a better place to live with so many multiple facets of stuff we've got going on in our community? It's a great idea. I like it, and I support you.
I appreciate that, and good counsel all the time. Here's what I want to do. I want to throw the puck on the ice, and I want to get the game playing. So what Commissioner Lopez said is vitally important. We can't go it alone. We can actually get things at least going in the right direction. I think we also need to bring in the Fox West board. They have a board that probably needs to do this. So I think we follow Commissioner Lopez's guidance with regards to bringing stakeholders together, because I think we're a collaborative body. Okay, so this falls right within our culture for that. So I think we try and do that, but I'd like to maybe move that forward, Tara, with those invitations. Let's have a discussion and a conversation, see how we can activate that. Commissioner Bagley.
It wasn't, but I think last month, but we even brought up about the Fox Theater.
Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued by it. I always have been intrigued by it. And watched a few shows there when I first moved here from California years ago, and when it was safe to go in there. But anyway, it was something I said, man, this is really a nice building. So when we started bringing up about us possibly being involved in that, I'm very intrigued and also curious, but I know very little about the proceedings, what's been going on, how would we even fit in, and that's what you were just bringing up. That was the discussion. So even more intrigued, to be honest with you. And I'm really intrigued in a good way. I mean, I want it to be, and now knowing now that the city owns it, and here we are, how can we be a player? How can we be a participant? and they help that go along. But I know very little about that, the whole works, and like I said, that's kind of a new iron on the fire, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think it could progress and get there pretty quick. But someone like Nick and you guys go in there and check things out and do stuff, and I'd be very, like I said, very intrigued about seeing how. But we don't know any of the, what their plans are. Where we're going to develop. Like you said, the bathrooms and the elevators. Well, I know that they probably are going to have some, but I don't know any of
Their
that.
plan's pretty well known. Funding the plan.
Yeah,
Very
me personally.
Yeah.
And so I'd be very much wanting to see some of those things. But I'm very intrigued. I think it'd be really good for us.
Right now, we're going through our second set of asbestos abatement.
Oh.
We just went out to bid, and we're actually tomorrow, making the decision, hopefully, on which contractor won the bid to do the second round of asbestos abatement. So they're supposed to be starting that soon.
Just out of curiosity with that, is the asbestos pretty prevalent or is it located?
This is our second round.
Yeah, so we've already spent quite a significant amount of abatement, but
Is it around pipes?
Come on up, Nick.
yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, the first one, I don't know exactly the figure, but it was pretty significant. This is the stuff that's left over. So it's not as bad, but it's in really tough spots. So it's in the crawl space of the basement that's,
Hard.
you don't even know what's down there. So it's in there, it's in the boiler room, which should surprise anyone.
Right.
But getting that done will be, and we kind of said, where we want to be done with it, that abatement, asbestos abatement, because then they get a really clear slate to start actually rebuilding.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big work. That, the repointing, I'm sure everybody kind of see that. So the building's standing in good shape. So, yeah, that's kind of, I'm new to it, so, but that's what I've seen so far in the last 18 months.
Like I said, it's just a very intriguing project, and being part of that, I'm pretty excited about it.
Very good. So here's the thing. They've got a good team of folks there. We've got a good team of folks here. What I know is what we don't know, there are people that know it very well.
Yeah.
We have an attorney. We have Ayers and Associates as consultants. We've kind of consultant up to where we can actually put those folks to use.
Mhm.
And so what we don't know, we probably should go into those rooms, right?
Yeah.
Because we'll be a better urban renewal authority by actually stretching ourselves a little bit in some of these areas. And so I like us going into this unknown, but here's the thing. Just imagine with me for a moment when it does open, okay? It'd be awesome. So I'd like to and see if my commissioners will indulge me for a little bit. We have a guest that joined us. We're past the meat part of our work session. There's somebody that joined us. We're not able to have the meeting because we don't have a quorum. I don't believe that's fair to a person that comes out here and takes their time and sits in with us. So without any conflict, can I get agreement that we can, sir, did you want to address the TURA at all? Is there something that you came here to actually share with us, let us know, or petition?
I was encouraged to come here to talk about these David H. houses that are, in my case, burning next to my home, threatening the life of my family.
Okay.
And my property.
So, Commissioner Lopez, would you indulge me just to allow this gentleman to speak, because we're not going to have he won't have the opportunity later to do that. I don't want to give him I don't want to take a month from now to ask him to come back on something that's pressing.
You can, Chair, take the latitude to do so. However, it won't be on the record, since this is not being recorded on the permanent record. So the individual will understand that it won't be on the record, and for and I don't see it on the agenda as well for on the regular meeting. Oh, there it is, petitions or communications. So under petitions or communications, this will be basically off the record, but just so that that person's knows that, and then keep the the conversation to probably 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think that's what we'd like to do. I'd love for you to be here. We're not gonna comment on this, okay? But I believe we need to hear this, okay? So if you could please come forward, provide your name, residency, and share with us your concerns.
Well, I'm Dean Mark Walter. I live on 214 East Goddard Avenue. I've lived here for 9.5 years. Come around a little bit around Thanksgiving, it'll be a decade I've lived here. We bought the property after doing due diligence. Everybody said, no big deal. It's no big deal. There's all kind of abandoned stuff in Trinidad. It's no big deal. It was immediately a problem. These David H. houses, and he owns a lot of these properties, and I don't know his last name, but his name is David something, and they were posted on some of these, but he owns that big building on Plum Street. Anyway, anything that's got purple painted on it, he's got something.
Without using people's names and such, let's go to the meat of your thing. We don't need to identify people.
Okay.
Please, just what's the concern? What's the problem part that we can digest?
It's caught on fire twice. That's a problem.
Yeah.
It attracts junkies, drug addicts, drug dealers, anybody doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And these properties just thrive on it. And by the time you call the cops, they're already gone. And you can't call the cops 3, 4, 5 times a day for nothing, for just ghosting something. I was promised 13 months ago, that it would be dealt with. She split.
She's not in a position any longer to have done anything like that. So, proceed.
I just don't understand how 10 years can go by and nothing happened with these properties.
Yeah.
My daughter's never been able to play outside safely in her own yard. If you've ever if you've got kids, you've ever seen a fire less than 10 feet away from them, the terrifying look on their face when they think they're going to die, lose their pets, something's going to happen. And then I'm wondering too, because my dad was a fireman, and there was a lot of situations where if a property that was just begging to get burnt down happened to get burnt down, well, when firemen showed, they control burned it to the ground. They weren't going to come out there a second and a third time and hassle with that. And here we are a second time, 13 months to the date almost. And it was bad this time, Pat.
Yeah.
When it happened 13 months ago, I couldn't feel the heat when I came out the door. The wind was blowing in a direction that was saving me, not my neighbor, but definitely saving my property. This time it wasn't the case. The whole side of my Connex is burnt. Everything that was in my Connex is smoke damaged. That Connex saved my vehicles from being destroyed. It also saved that fire from jumping into my property and then the neighbor's property. And it seems like Trinidad has a lot of things on their plate and concerned about a lot of little things, but when it comes to someone's life like that, they don't care. I've complained about that thing over and over and over and over again. And it's still there threatening my life and my property. Pat, I'm not a rich guy. That's all I own, Pat, is on that piece of land, including my vehicles. That's all I own.
I invited you to be here because I think it was important for us to match stories to when we call blighted houses and we talk about those things, okay? What is the address? Do you know the address of that?
Absolutely, it's 216 East Goddard.
I appreciate you taking the time. I think this is important. Your little girl's the best property you probably have, okay?
Well,
And that was enough for us, but I want us to stay within our protocol, okay, and where we should be. But it was important for me for you to have taken the time to come out here because we're always saying that we'd like for folks to come to a TURA meeting and let us know what they think, how this is affecting them. And so certainly that's a safety, and fires and it's blight. So we're not going to get in deep into the weeds with you on this right now because it's not the proper time. I invite you to come back at another time too. But what I can say is we will look into this, and if there's things we can do, we will do that, and we will respond to you. We will communicate to you. Okay.
There's one thing that can be done, and it's free, and it already happens. It just needs to happen.
Okay.
A policeman drives by the alley once a day. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to deter. I haven't seen one policeman since that fire. And as soon as that fire was out, there was already activity back there.
Okay. So again, I appreciate you being able to make your comments and your thoughts known. I invited you to be here, and I'm grateful you took that invitation up. We're not able to comment with regards to where this is.
I knew that was going to be the case.
But we will follow up, okay? And everyone here heard
Right.
what you said, which I think is the important thing, that we humanize some of these issues. Commissioner Lopez, and appreciate you for being here. Commissioner Lopez.
We're kind of out of our lane, and so I'm going to just move forward with being out of our lane. I feel really bad for you, sir. I drove by that property and seeing there was a fire there not too long ago, a year or two ago.
It was 13 months ago, yeah.
Right, thank you for sharing tonight with us. I feel your frustration. I own a business up on Santa Fe Trail, and I deal with the same issues of homelessness and people destroying property, and you're not alone. So I understand next Tuesday night there is a hearing for the city of Trinidad regarding a camping and a property thing that they're going to be discussing, and a hearing on that. I recommend you attend the next city council meeting, sign up for public comment, address the city council. That is who authorizes the police department. That is who the city manager has the authority over, the chief of police, and then from there it disseminates down in a structure. Urban Renewal, unfortunately, does not have any of that at our disposal. But I do hear your complaint, and thank you for taking the time tonight. But there's a process, and maybe it could be now that the structure is even more worse than it was before. With your concerns and your fears for your family's safety and your life can be brought back to light at the next city council meeting. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So again, for our thing is when we say there's 31 properties, or we say there's 18 properties out there we can do things, there are also people living next to those properties. So whenever we say, if we address that, we'll make things better for the people around them. There's an example of that. Okay, so. Again, since he decided to show up here, I decided to respect him.
I have just one comment.
Please.
Having been in a fire, and it had nothing to do with anybody setting it, we don't know what happened there, but to know the horrors of being in a fire like we were, I know exactly how that man feels. And people say, "Oh, I know how you feel." No, I know exactly how he feels. And he didn't actually have something burned down, but his life and his family and everything. So my heart really goes out to a gentleman like that. And how do you deal with some of those things? And one of the ways that we can is to address some of these houses, the blighted houses. I mean, and that's kind of on our agenda here. But it can't be as fast as. In other words, we're kind of a slow moving.
Well, again, Commissioner Lopez was very clear in that this is out of our lane,
Yes.
and the recommendation to take this to a higher authority is good. But our lane really is these properties.
Yes.
Okay, these properties are our lane. Safety is our lane. Blight mitigation is our lane. And I was okay having him come here, be on this video, and at least this board is open to people talking to us and welcoming them with regards to that. Even if we can't specifically do something for them. And so let's move on. We have the schedules item.
I fixed the schedule so that now it has all of the meetings on there. That was what was missing before.
Okay.
It jumped from February to August.
Yay!
So yeah, it's I knew that was bothering somebody with OCD. It is fixed now, so now it shows all of the meetings on that schedule now. So
We like I daughters and T crosses, that's okay. Anybody, can we move on with that? Does anybody have any comments with regards to that?
No.
Okay, done, thank you so much, and it's always good to have that. Board vacancies, I'll be real quick with that. I've always thought that we have a board that people will want to join. So I posted something on that crazy Facebook platform. We had about, I think, over 10 people apply and submit applications. Only 2 have been interviewed thus far. We have several others that are coming forward. The intention for us, quite frankly, is to fill this board, get some different thinking on it, get some different, education and experience and passion on this board, because we've got a lot of work to do. And so I found the process kind of clunky, the interview process clunky, so I'll be meeting with the mayor on that to see if there's some way that we can inject ourselves a little bit more. I have a question that I would like to have asked, is that we're not an advisory board. We're a governmental board that operates under different statutes, and that's why the city creates an urban renewal authority, because if they could do it themselves, they do it themselves, okay? So we're an adjunct organization from that. I don't know if the city should be interviewing the first interviewers of applicants to our board, okay? I understand why they would be interviewers of applicants to an advisory board, because that board is going to be advising them. I think that I'd like to maybe see if there's a way for us to have a bigger seat at the table of those, of that area. I'd like us to maybe to at least be able to provide questions that we would like to have asked of the applicants there, and maybe go in a little deeper, that kind of thing. And so that was the reason that's what I've recently done to try and fill this board, and maybe set an example for other boards to fill themselves. Commissioner Bagley, you have
I'm
anything?
sorry, I didn't kind of ventured out there.
No, please.
I was going to say, how do we screen? I mean, that's what you just said. So, we be able to have specific questions and ask some different questions as far as of them. But if we have 10 people and we don't need that many, how do you tell somebody to say, hey, well, why don't you go to this board, or whatever? Because
I interviewed. I had some of those folks reach out to me, but the real stickler was, and Commissioner Lopez is in that. The real stickler is that we have more people, it seems, from the county that want to be on this board than we have seats that allow them to be on this board. So we had to turn several folks away that don't qualify from a residency perspective. Okay, so that's that. But we have interest, and that was a big thing. We had real interest from folks that really want to get in here. Commissioner Lopez?
Well, that's good to hear that there's people wanting to jump on board with urban renewal. Thank you for doing that. As far as taking part in selecting the board from our own board members, I would really caution us to do that. Let's make sure we check state statute, the statute that encompasses our URA, and what that process looks like from that standpoint. And the reason I say that is a lot of boards or city council, commissioners, elected officials, they're elected. In this particular capacity, we are appointed. And you made this comment earlier, Chairman, that we don't have a constituency to answer to, but somebody has to have that to answer to. So I think that's the whole purpose that the city council appoints us to, so that they can respond to the constituency regarding the boards that they oversee. Maybe having a member or two at the table during the interview process would be something that we can look into. That would probably be very good to do. But I just caution us that we, as our own board, select our own board members, because then you could be stacking the deck with like-minded board members, and that never passes the smell test either. So you got to be very cautious how you move forward with that. But it doesn't mean we can't investigate it. and look into it, reach out to heirs or our legal counsel and say, what is the process of this, and view your concerns. I have no objection of you doing that, Chairman, and see exactly what that process looks like.
I think that's spot on, counsel. And again, things I was saying really aren't to usurp any of those areas. We will always color within the lines, and that's why we have an attorney. That's why the city has an attorney, and that's why we have and will continue to have a great relationship with the city. That's why part of the thing was maybe we're just enter some questions to be asked, right?
They've done
But
that. They've
but
done that in the past with the boards. If you have questions that you want the city council to ask, you can put it in writing and hand it to them, and they will take care of it.
very good, because what Commissioner Lopez brings up is something we always have to fight. We can't have boards be, setting themselves up to be the gatekeepers and the barriers to entry.
Right.
And so that's a big concern that I truly do share, and it's something we need to stay very, very far away from. So thanks, Commissioner Lopez. I'm in 100% agreement with regards to that caution there. Items for future discussion. Commissioner Lopez, anything you'd like to have continue or bring up?
No, I think we just continue with what we got on our agenda tonight, and then recall, the city back with Cougar Canyon, any discussion on that, and possibly the discussions with the Fox West, and what that looks like with your meeting with the mayor, if you're able to do so. And also, there was a conversation that was brought up too regarding some other buildings, such as you mentioned earlier with this poor gentleman that came in with his vacant building and blight, of a program of possibly incorporating the city of Trinidad, similar to what the college did, and going on their own in possibly either reaching out to subcontractors or putting out to bid and renovating some of these blighted homes. Commissioner Beggy and I had a short conversation on that idea, similar to a project, and I think he could expand on that thought process. But I think that discussion should be on the next agenda for what that may look like, if at all, because I don't really see a lot of contractors coming out of the woodwork to say, yeah, I'll go fix this $40,000 dilapidated building and have to go through all the hoops and all that stuff, and then maybe have, a lot of the issues with asbestos and, methamphetamine infestation. So,
yep.
I really think it's a good idea to start investigating another avenue for us with blighted homes, of maybe a partnership with the city of Trinidad, and then taking ownership similar to what Pueblo, and I think once we get more information on how the Pueblo County did, which Tara's going to get that for us and have that, I think that might be a good stepping stone for the city to help alleviate their own problem. Mm-hmm. And us be the conduit to get there.
Excellent.
And just to follow up on that very thing, we could set the tone like we're bringing in Pueblo, to help us to do some of these things. So maybe we could be the people saying, hey, this worked for us, it may work for your community as well. And maybe we set the tone for, doing some of these type of mitigation, if you will, to make sure, and then bring it back to a point where we have some affordable housing, so we deal with other issues along the line, but how we get there, we're still kind of muddled with and that's, so I appreciate Commissioner Lopez bringing that up. As far as me having other discussions, I think I agree with everything. We should just continue with that, but go ahead, Luis.
There's another group that I forgot to mention in that comment was CHAPA.
Yes.
Is very engaged in other counties and other areas that we could possibly bring on in the toolbox with this, with the city of Trinidad. They don't have a lot of activity down in our neck of the woods, but they're very active in Prowers, Otero, and Pueblo County. So Carolyn Tranny is the director or our southern manager, I believe, for Southern Colorado. Maybe we can invite her to a meeting in the next couple months to have her give a kind of a synopsis of what CHAPA can do to help urban renewal and some of these issues we're discussing.
Let's reach out to her.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we've actually got a couple programs coming up now from them.
Awesome.
We're doing.
But I have no other.
Awesome, okay. I'd certainly like to continue having some of these things. I'd like to have Cougar Canyon on the next meeting, and the next meeting, and the next meeting as we move forward, even if it's just updates. I'd like to have the blighted homes item, even if it's the update with regards to the Pueblo or Renewal Authority that we're working on. I'd like to find out some information about the home. They said, I want to know. I didn't want him to go over who owns properties. We're not that body, okay? We're not Facebook. But I do want to know, is that owned? Is that a property where somebody does own it and they're negligent?
It's a mortgage company out of Texas. They have not responded to us since they purchased it. We've sent certified letters. They are been ignoring it. Our city attorney sent a letter last week after when the fire happened to them to inform them that if they do not respond by Monday, we are going to go ahead and knock it down ourselves, lien the property, and then they're going to court.
Okay. And so we weren't able to share that with the gentleman who's here.
He's already been told.
But it would have been inappropriate for us to share that as Commissioner Lopez also.
And Chair, if I may add.
Yes, please.
That gentleman he mentioned for the properties is no longer in the area, and I believe all of his properties have been foreclosed upon. So I don't even think he has any ownership in the community anymore, from what I gather.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just inappropriate to do that anyway without real information. And so we needed to stop that. But I would like to come back with something constructive that we know and are doing, because I think we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, at least in these areas, we're kind of there. I'd like to invite the city manager as soon as she's onboarded and ready at
May 10th.
May 10th. So I'd like to see if she would come to our June meeting.
June meeting? Okay.
June meeting and see.
But you're already here.
I know, it has caused some problems.
Same first name. So.
And then the last thing I want to do is I want to bring a conversation up that Tara, cover your head, cover your ears. We have a budget item that has to do with training. Now, one of the things I'm always wanting to do in any organization is I like investing in people. I think when you invest in people and they become more knowledgeable, then they're better at their job. So I'd like to encourage us to have a conversation of seeing what Downtown Colorado Inc. has with regards to trainings that are specific to urban renewal, and maybe things that TURA is doing for us, kind of with a lamp,